Fast Worm. This mulling is really interesting because it have really high damage in one single hit, but it attack at a much slower way than normal. I can show you. So let's say summon one here, and then start hitting target with it. Target. There you go. So you hit the target. So one single hit is 1,000 damage, and that's not even traded. So it's really decent. It's really decent as damage per second skill, but this range of this skill, the minion doesn't move at all. It just attack from range, so it's more close to guard tower. Guard towers of turret sort of thing, more than minions, I say. It also have a decent health, so it's useful when you can cast this minion directly on top of a wall and hit enemies behind the wall in a siege, for example. So it's pretty versatile. It's really interesting minion to use if you know what you're doing with it. The alternative skill is it teleport yourself to your Fast Worm, and it kills a worm, but it also poisons the enemies around it, which is interesting. But the thing about this, there's 1,000-meter range, and there's you cannot use this to teleport onto walls or past obstacles. So because world versus world, the terrain is not really flat everywhere, you may just teleport partway. That's it. I'll show you. So it's way beyond 100, so on there. So when I use this, I'm gonna teleport on the area. See? So yeah, interesting skill to use for sure if you know what you're doing. Now you can use the Fast Worm as a way out if things turn south for you. For example, let's say you see an enemy up ahead, you can cast this worm maybe here somewhere. It's high, place a safe place so it doesn't get killed before you can go back. So you go in, you charge in, you start fighting Zerg, wherever, wait, fight a bit, and then things start going really bad for you. Then you just teleport away from the Zerg and just run away, that kind of thing. But like I said, keep in mind there's a 1,200 range limit, and honestly, in my opinion, if you want to use it that way, Spectral Walk is better because it teleports you directly to where you are. You can use this even if you're jumping down from a tower, it will teleport you back onto the tower, for example, when you're defending a tower. So yeah, I like Spectral Walk more for that purpose than the worm. Now let's talk about whales. By default, the whale just casts at wherever you are, right at your feet. So you cannot use this from a range. So for example, let's say you're running around and then you decide to use a whale like that, it will just cast right at where you were before earlier, like that. So if you really want to use whales, you should definitely consider using the trait of focus rituals, which are, oh look, I found a bug. It would just recharge my skill instantly. Anyway, but it will allow you to use the whales at a distance of 900 meters. And you should also consider using the trait of Ritual Mastery, which cut down your whale skill recharge by 20%, which is helpful. So now you can use whales in distance. Well, let's try the bug again. Yup, it is bugged. I'm pretty sure it's bugged. Okay, anyway. Whale of Suffering. This is the most damaging whales of the four. If you are into a really high power build, this whale does really high damage. Like I'm using a condition damage build, so my damage is really weak, even weaker than the my Mark of Blood, for example. If my Mark of Blood do more damage. But yes, Whale of Suffering, really high damage. The problem with using this as damage is that the recharge is really high, and enemies can roll out of it unless you maybe immobilize them with that pack or whatever, that kind of thing. So yeah, decent skill if you are into whale bombing, but I personally don't really like this in world versus world settings because of the long recharge, just way too long. I find 30-something seconds. Mark of Blood, slightly less damage maybe, but I can use it every 4 seconds rapidly reapplying it, so I find that I'm more powerful, so I don't bother with the Whale of Suffering, me personally. Whale of Corruption is the single most useful whale in World vs World, and I'll tell you why. When in a Zerg vs Zerg battle in the higher tiers, both commander is going to try buff the ally with good buff, and then they will war, whale, invisible, stealth, and the whole Zerg is going to charge before they start engaging the enemy. Okay, like that, like so. Now, if a Necromancer casts a well-placed Whale of Corruption, at the enemy circle in their path of engagement, it will whip off the boom and convert them all into condition for that whole enemy circle, and that is a total game changer, because like your side is still buffed ideally and the enemy is debuffed and conditioned. So it's a really huge game changer. It could totally tip the balance, and it has tipped the balance. So really good skill for our world versus world. Well of Power is another game changer for the exact opposite reason. This one converted condition on your allies into booms. The difference between this one and the Well of Corruption is that Well of Corruption you cast before the engagement. Like when you see enemy charging to you, you just to deboom them, like convert their boom into conditions. While this one you cast in the middle of the battle when your allies have engaged and they have condition on them. So you cast this to remove their conditions. So basically what will happen is you're gonna, well, like I said, you're gonna buff, you go to war, your commanders could stack everyone war, everyone get buff, and then you cast Well Corruption, so the enemy get debuffed, and you fight for a bit, and then your commander will go may rally here, and this is when you cast Well Power to convert all the condition on your allies into booms. So once again, another game changer. Well, that Necromancer have. Well of Darkness cast blindness on a bunch of foes in an area. I personally think the objective of this skill is to force the enemy circle away from the area, because for those 5 seconds they cannot fight in the area or none of their attack or skills is going to hit, so they have to run away. It's a similar function as the elite skill Plague number 2, really similar. It blinds a bunch of foes, they cannot hit anything. So yeah, useful mostly for defense, like tower defense, when you cast this on a gauge, so none of the attacks gonna hit, that sort of thing. I personally would not use this for shirt versus shirt battle. I think the other 3 wells that I thought of personally, well, maybe except for the well stuffing obviously, but they are better than this one. So because we have a limited utilities slots, I would not put this in unless I have to. We are now going to talk about the weapon skills, and the first weapons that I'm going to go through are the underwater combat weapons. I feel that underwater combat is often overlooked by players. They're not comfortable with it. They don't know what to do underwater. And in both PvE and in World vs World, underwater combat happens quite a lot. So I think it's important that we get an idea of how to fight underwater. So let's begin. I'm gonna first talk about those utility skills that we can use underwater. As you can see, most of a lot of those skills that we can only use on land are disabled. So Epidemic is still just as good underwater as it's on land. But its powers still really useful. Spectral Walk, I would say this is a must-take skill for you, because like underwater you want to have really high mobility, you want to move as fast as you can. There's not as much space to hide behind. There's a lot of open spaces when you fight underwater, so you want to be able to move fast. So Sightless are just as useless as before. I mean Sightless Undeath, you can't even really resurrect allies because they'll be there somewhere in the middle, and this skill is totally useless. It's just bugged in a sense. So I don't like Sightless underwater. And minions, they're actually better underwater than when they're on land, because their AI is easier to target enemy and they chase them faster. They respawn better, I found, when they're underwater. So yeah, minions are definitely a choice to take when you are underwater. Now I'm going to talk about underwater Deathstroke skills. The first skill is Guarding Plague, which gathers the condition from your allies around you to yourself, and that goes hand in hand with skill number 1, the auto attack, because it transfers conditions to your enemy. So those two work really well together. Now let's talk about the other 2 skills. Free for free. This is a manual aim. What you do is you make sure the enemy is way in front of you, like so, and you press skill number 3 and you free the enemy for 2 seconds, like so. So yeah, pretty interesting. And Dark Water, you just cause all enemy lead you to blind and weak. So that's pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about underwater weapons. When you use a spear, it's mostly used for close quarter melee range physical damage. So you want to max your power and critical chance on your spear. When you use the trident, it's mostly bleeding, poison, condition damage. So you want to maximize your condition damage on your trident. One thing I gotta say about underwater weapon is that we really have really little life force regeneration. Like on the trident, the only skill is freeze, which you get 5% every 10 seconds, that kind of thing. And on the spear, is the number 3 of your auto attack, only gain a 3% life force. So our life force regeneration is really weak underwater. Now that's one thing I don't really like about it. So I'm gonna go over the spear skills first. Auto attack, really straightforward. The Whacker Sparrow, you just stay in place and you spin and hit enemies around you multiple times. The Deadly Feast, I use this when I'm traveling underwater because it gives you a swiftness, and the summon around you, the swarm of whatever is it gives you a life stealing leech. So it's useful for if you are meleeing someone. So it's pretty good. Honestly, I prefer the on NAM version of the Warhorn, where it summons a bunch of stuff that bugs that cripple your enemy. I found that more useful than this. But Deadly Catch, that's useful because like you can pull an enemy to you, well, multiple enemies. You can pull multiple enemies to you, and then you can follow that with Whacker Sparrow. It just goes hand in hand. Skill 4, number 2 of the spear. And Dark Spear, you pull yourself to the enemy and you cause bleeding. I don't personally like this one because it stuns yourself, so I don't like it. So a short demonstration of the spear. So yes, skill number 3 to increase your movement speed, and then you can use skill number 4 to pull enemy through you, and then you can spin in place to hit them multiple times if you don't get interrupted, of course. And you can use skill number 5 to pull yourself to it, which stuns both you and your enemy. And then you can just melee the enemy, right? Like so. Use number 3 to keep leeching health from the enemy, spin to kill him, that sort of thing. That's spear for you. So let's go over the trident skill. So the auto attack, some damage, and bleeding. So yeah, really straightforward, just condition damage. Feast, this skill does damage to foes nearby you and cause weakness on them, and also you gain life force per foe that you hit. But like I said, I don't really like this skill because like, especially in one-on-one, right, you don't get much life force out of this at all, so I don't really count that part of it. Falcon, really good skill for either attacking or for traveling on the world versus world map, because like you can just go off target and you could dash forward with it. So it's really, yes, really good skill. And also it gives you a poison field and a lift finisher, so that automatically give you a weakness to nearby foes when you finish with that. Sinking Tomb, really good skill for slaying an enemy, for trapping them so your allies can kill him, that sort of thing. It is almost like in Slayer, like immobilize, is it that kind of thing, but I don't think this one can be removed at all. They just sinks. And False Abyss, really high damage skill, really high damage, and you add a chill and vulnerability on the foe. And the downside of that this skill is that it have a really long cooldown, and casting time is 2 seconds, so it's really easily interruptible. So what I usually do is I mix this with Sinking Tomb. So I cast Sinking Tomb and then I cast False Abyss to make sure the enemy cannot interrupt me or escape from me. So a short demonstration. So I use skill number 3 to dash at the enemy witless because I end the skill next to him. I dash out. I use my speed buff to increase my movement speed, like I said. Really important to keep your speed up always in underwater combat. So Sinking Tomb, skill number 5, massive damage, dash again, and then skill number 2 for an AoE. Oh, I got another, that's no problem. Okay, so I'll hit him, I hit him. See, he cannot chase me because I'm moving faster than normal. Okay, so that's why speed is really important. I dash to him, just keep one-on-one, just screw him up, just wear him down with my conditions, that sort of thing, and that's how Trident fights.